All right, everyone. Today in bad decision making, we have the state of Minnesota. It's trying to achieve zero emissions for its transit system, which is not actually going to happen. The idea of zero emissions because the bus is electric is bullshit because of where the electricity on the grid is coming from. But there's an additional problem, and it's one that people don't really address, which is that the lithium batteries that are used in EVs don't perform very well when it gets very cold. Now, this isn't a problem in Texas. It's not a problem if you're in Bel Air or someplace like that. It's not a problem in the Mediterranean region or in Africa. It is a problem in the far Great White North, though. If you have a bus that can only go for about 70 minutes before it has to be fully recharged, the bus is basically useless and your transit system breaks down. That's indeed what happened in Duluth and several other cities in Minnesota. They get a cold snap and the EVs, instead of running for an extended period of time, run for about an hour before they have to be recharged. The problem being there are too many people that need that transit and you not being able to keep up the full bus schedule because you've transferred mainly over to electric vehicles. There's an easy solution to this, which is gas-powered buses. Now, I've been an aficionado of that for some time. It's efficient. It's relatively cheap. We've got plenty of our own natural gas in North America. All the transit systems should really be hooked up with that. You know, trams and buses and so forth. There are still trams in the country. By the way, bring back trams in metropolitan areas, because trams are cool. I don't know how efficient they are compared to trains and shit like that, but who cares? It's a goddamn tram. They look cool. By the way, Rutland used to have a tram, believe it or not. Back in the Roaring 20s, the city of Rutland installed a tram. I think it operated for about 20, 30 years before they shut it down. Bring it back. The tourists will love that shit. God, they'll pay to ride the tram. Oh my God, it's like being in Europe. And, you know, I do admit the first time I was on a tram in Amsterdam, I was like, wow, I'm actually on a tram. And it wasn't EV either. Anyway, actually I do think they're electrically powered, but it's on grid. A little bit of a difference. The problem with doing that with a bus, though, is that it's not. The problem with an electric bus is that you're going to have to repeatedly charge it throughout the day, whereas if it's gas-powered, it's real simple to juice it back up. Okay, we ran out of gas. It takes me 10 minutes and I fill the tank back up. That's it. With an EV, you have to make sure to have enough charge to get it back to the charging station, so there's problem number one, because it might be across town. Assuming you get there, then you plug it in for several hours, so the bus is only operative for about a third, maybe a quarter of the actual time it could be operative if it were using a liquid fuel. EVs don't work in cold climates. That's just the long and short of it. I'm not even considering, for example, the possibility of an electric vehicle. No possibility whatsoever that I would invest in one. I'm not going to pay more money for a shittier automobile. If anything, looking at the kill switch and stuff they're trying to build into new vehicles anyway, starting I think next year, I'll probably forever be riding in something that was, around when I was a teenager. Like right now, there's the Avalon, which is a good car, by the way. It's nice. It's considering how old it is and how many miles it's got on it. Runs like a goddamn kitten. Had a dream last night, actually, that I was driving it and several indicator lights were on. Can't remember which ones they were. I think one of them was the battery or something like that, and I was like, oh shit. And then there's the Mercedes over in the Netherlands, which has the same engine, by the way, which is why I chose it. That's a nice vehicle. That's even older than the Avalon is, from the 2000s. That's sort of the sweet spot for automobiles, by the way, roughly the 2000s. So you get some of the computerized gadgets and doohickeys in the cars, but they're still self-contained. And it's almost like they're trying to make automobiles cloud-based now. Like they've turned our computers into dummy terminals. If you're using Windows 11 and you haven't really reformatted it, like restore registry editor and do a bunch of fucking shit, basically it's not a computer anymore. It's basically a dummy terminal. Well, your car is going to become a dummy terminal too. They'll all be, they'll all have AI and automatically drive and kill switches and shit like that. Well, there are conveniences that come along with that, and most people will, in the end, unfortunately, be stupid enough to use them. In fact, they might try to legislate other vehicles off the road entirely. I'm going to hold out as long as I can and be a car Luddite. Mainly because I want my car to operate in the cold. This is the state of Vermont. We're not going to, Burlington has a gas-powered fleet of buses. Those work just fine when it's cold. It's easy to refuel them. It's also environmentally friendly. Who gives a fuck? But, the hipsters love it. If they were to try to use electric buses, they would run into some problems depending on the time of year. Mid-July, nobody cares. Mid-January, like in a few weeks from now, around my fucking birthday, yeah, I mean, when your buses don't work anymore, that's going to be a real sticking point because a lot of people in urban areas don't even own automobiles. It's like you go over to the Netherlands, there are a lot of people who only have a brommobilen for local travel or something. It can go on the autoweg, but it can't go on the motorway. Because it can only go so many miles. It's basically a moped with a car structured around it. They're actually fascinating. It's like a really, really miniaturized car. Like, think of something not much bigger than a smart car. That's basically a bromobile. By the way, they do look cool. Definitely functional. It's cheaper than buying a new car. You can get a new one for, I think, about 12,000 euros or thereabouts. Like, brand new. If you get a used one, it's not going to be that expensive. But, I mean, EVs work there a little bit more because it's more densely concentrated and it doesn't get that cold. It gets cold in the Netherlands, but cold there is like 35, 40 degrees, but it's dreary. It's really foggy or something. Here it's more, hey, there's 5 feet of snow on the ground and it's 20 degrees below zero. It's like being in goddamn Siberia. Don't think EVs are really going to cut it. So I don't expect Burlington or Rutland to transfer their bus fleets over to EV anytime soon. As we've seen from this example in parts of Minnesota, when the temperature drops really low, they just can't perform very well. Well, so here's a list of places in the United States where you probably don't want to do that. New England, most of New York, you might be able to get away with it in New York City because they're a little bit warmer and more coastal, but you get awful cold there. Down into Jersey in that area. You probably don't want it in Michigan. You probably don't want it in parts of northern Illinois or anywhere. The Dakotas, forget about it. Not that there's any cities there that need buses anyway. I mean, what's the biggest city in the whole region? Bismarck. How many people live there? Like 50,000 or something like that? Real impressive. Okay, twice the size of Rutland. I'm sure that there are buses there. They should probably not be EV power. Certainly areas in Idaho, the mountainous regions of the Rockies, halfway down, even into Colorado. So basically about a third of the nation's land area, and Alaska. So for the United States, about a third of your land area, you probably don't want to engage in this. Well, then it's never going to be a viable solution for your problem of carbon emissions. Oh my God, fossil fuel. Not that you're not creating it at the goddamn power plant before you feed the shitty bus that works for 1/3 of the actual day. That's not going to work. It doesn't scale, by the way, to the kind of fleets necessary for larger cities. Not at that efficiency level. Maybe if you have twice as many buses, or you have like, I don't know, some sort of modular system to instantaneously replace the battery so that the other one can go in the charger while the bus goes back out on its merry way. Maybe you could get away with that. Imagine how much goddamn cost for that lithium. China must be licking at its chops right now thinking about such a situation. I bet the Chinese will develop modular buses that can just swap out the electrical battery instantaneously, so it takes 2 minutes instead of 2 or 3 hours of recharging time. Thank you, China. You are very kind to us. That's about all. Peace out.